Okay, so now we are back for the next part of the lecture. So in this we are going to discuss on feasibility study. Okay, so we need to know how feasible is the project before you go into construction stage, right? So the feasibility studies takes into account the sustainability aspect, which is your economics, what are the projects that you are doing, what is the research behind it, how does it impact on environment and society. So you need to do a detailed study on your plan or the product that you want to produce. So what are the key operations that you need to do in feasibility study? Evaluate existing and potential market conditions. Okay, so if you want to produce product B using our raw material A, so you need to look for market availability. Do you have enough raw material? Okay, so availability of the raw material, how much quantity is it available, what is the quality of the raw material that is available, and what is the cost of the raw material. Okay, this is very essential because you should have a continuous supply of raw material in order for you to maintain your plan for maybe next 20, 25, 30 years, right? And also, what is the product demand? Who is using this product B? What is the purity of your product? Okay, what are the various applications of this product? So you need to do some market analysis. What is the trend? Maybe you can study last 5 to 10 years market study and see whether the demand is increasing or decreasing. If the demand is decreasing continuously, there's no point for you to produce this product, right? So the main important thing here is when you do the market analysis, identify what is the gap between your supply and demand. Next, evaluate the various reactions and process pathway. So how do you do it? Using your chemistry and thermodynamic. What are the equilibrium conditions? What are the reaction pathways? What is the yield of your product? What's the selectivity? How much conversion you can achieve? What are the optimum process conditions and so on, right? Next, what are the facilities and equipment that you need to produce this product B? Okay, is there any equipment currently available or do you need to purchase those equipment? So you need to make a planning ahead. Once you're done with that, we also need to do the costing, production cost and total investment, right? And then calculate our profit rate of return. So this is the overview of feasibility study. So let me give an example. Market study. So you are performing production of 1,3-propanediol. So you identify what are the various ways 1,3-propanediol can be produced. So get some reaction pathways from the literature. Okay, so maybe there are many available uh, routes that you can produce the same product. Okay, what are the available routes? You need to study on that. Okay, so once you this is just an example. So perform this step for all the available process route. Maybe you have process route A, B, C, D and so on. So how the process route A is achieved? What are the operating conditions? Same as B and C and D. Alright. Then you need to identify what is the market demand for your product. So you need to do some literature review and plot them in a bar chart or pie chart. Okay. So this is the various resources that can be used, or it depends upon the product as well. So identify some market reviews and then plot them year on year how much the production capacity is increasing. Okay, and then what are the various applications of the product? Okay, maybe your 1,3-propanediol can be used for production of polytrimethylene terephthalate, right? And then polyurethane, or maybe personal care and detergents and others and so on. So you can see where is the demand. Is the demand increasing or not? Then once you know the market trend available, you know until 2027. But definitely when you build a plant, you want to run it for maybe next 25 to 30 years. So what you do is you extrapolate your graph based on CAGR, compound growth rate, right? So you use the CAGR approach, then you can easily find by how much percentage. Then you can just extrapolate it to another 10 to 15 years or 20 years. Okay, now how do you compare the process or unit operations? Okay, this is an example again to produce bio-based 1,3-propane-diol. So there are various routes how you can produce the same product. Maybe by fermentation approach, microfiltrations are used, ultrafiltrations is used, nanofiltration is used, ion exchange method, evaporation, right? So there are the various approaches that are being used. So you need to tabulate all the information that you can get for each process. What are the operating conditions? Okay, what are the raw material availability? Okay, then you also compare the raw materials and the products in terms of their safety, right? You need to identify the level of hazard for your raw material and the product using the NFPA, National Fire Protection Association. So this can be easily done by MSDS. So whatever mass is going in to your plant or coming out of your plant, every material safety aspect has to be studied using the MSDS. Okay, you need to know whether it's a volatile, whether it can easily catch fire, whether it's a toxic, and so on. Okay, so you need to label them accordingly. Why we need to label? Because you need to know how to handle them, because the handling of the raw materials or the products is different based on their hazard level, right? Then you also can compare the costing. Okay, so if you're using a microbial strain, how much does it cost, or culture media or whatever. So this is some of the example that we can use. So you need to find the price in US dollars, so you can also convert it into the Malaysian ringgit or wherever country you are in. Okay, so try to do some cost comparison for your raw materials or the product, so at least you have an idea which raw material is much cheaper for you to go ahead with your design. Look for alternative processes. Okay, so you need to evaluate your process. Maybe you can see whether your process is technology readiness is there or not. Okay, so for example, they say this process is commercially scalable. Okay, hydrogenolysis, so this is, most of the research is laboratory based, this also laboratory based. So whenever you want to go for a commercial production, also need to look at the scalability. Okay, so you need to look into this aspect as well. Then how energy efficient is your each process. Write down the operating conditions involved in each of the unit operations, for example. Compare them. What is the efficiency of your process? Okay, this is 98%, 100%, 100%. Okay, definitely you want to choose 100%, but you should also know that this is only a lab scale. How about at the industrial scale or commercial scale? How does that process perform? So there is no data available, right? What is the yield of your product? Also need to tabulate. What are the byproduct the process can produce? So what are the various byproducts you need to list down. More the byproducts, remember, higher the separation demand. All right, so hazards. What are the material hazard in your process based on the different materials that you're using? Okay, list them up. Next, coming to the site location. For site location also, you can select different location to build your plant and also compare them in terms of various aspects. For example, availability of the raw material. Is the raw material available closer to your site that you have chosen to construct your plant? Okay, this is very important. Markets. So who are the potential buyer of your product? Is the market close to your plant location so that it's easy to transport? Okay. What is the energy availability? Who is the supplier of the energy? Okay. And what is the cost? You need to tabulate. And then transportation facilities. What are the various transportation facilities available from your site location? Also need to be compared. Water supply. Okay, do you have waste disposal facilities near your plant? If not, you need to have your own waste disposal system, right? You need to design your own waste treatment plants. How about the labor supply? And what is the cost of per labor in that surrounding to your plant location? Also need to identify whether the labors are in terms of skilled labors or unskilled labors and so on, right? Do you get any incentives, taxation, or legal restrictions for your land? You need to find out also the information. Site characteristics, whether you want to have a leasehold or you want to buy the land or so on. So flood and fire protection, is there any risk to build a plant in that area? Also need to be compared. Okay, so these are various feasibility studies. Furthermore, moving ahead, potential hazard that you can have. So this is all for your material handling. Okay, so list down all your materials that you have. Based on OSHA, you classify your hazard, and also based on toxic fire and hazard, explosion hazard, reaction hazard, ecological hazard. Okay, list them everything. Okay, so these are all that you need to compare before you finalize your process flow sheet. That is not very easy task, definitely, and it requires a lot of people from different expertise and background that they can look into this. Okay, now what are the factors that affect the profitability of your process? So plant location, as we discussed, there's so many factors that we need to consider for plant location that will directly affect your profit that you make. Plant layout. So how do you plan to place your equipment inside the plant? How do you want to have your piping system, whether you want to have overhead underground pipings, or you want to have vertical columns, or you want to have a horizontal reactors and so on. So everything you need to plan where you want to place your heat exchanger, how do you want to stack it or no, and everything. So all this plant layout is very important. Where should be a storage area, where should be a dispatch area, and all. Okay, plan operation and control. So how are you going to do the shutdown and start for your processes? What are the various utility requirement? Hot and cold, for example, steam, water, refrigerant, okay, any fuel. So this all comes under utility. Your structural design for your equipments, okay, storage and buildings, maybe because you also need to have an office area, storage area, raw materials and finished products. How do you handle your material inside your plant? How does the material move from one place to another place inside your plant? All right, so once we're done with all those things, we have to look into the region of design. So now we have two regions of design, one known as external constraint, one is known as internal constraint. So what will stop you from design? Okay, external constraint means they are fixed and invariable. Internal constraints can be controllable. So what can you control? The internal materials. It depends upon you. How do you choose the material? What material you want to use for your plant? It's all up to you. Who will be the personnel that you want to hire for your plant for efficient operation? What the time frame that you can give? What are the various methods you want to adopt? What are the choice of processes you want to use? What are the process conditions? So all this can be controlled by the process engineer or by you if you're designing a plan. What you cannot control is resources. Resource availability you cannot control. Okay, it all depends upon the suppliers. So because you have to outsource them. Any physical laws, standard and code, because you are not the one who are going to set the standard and codes, maybe in terms of safety or environmental, you always need to follow the government set standards and codes, right? So everything is government controls. Economic constraints, it's not in your hand because you're not the investor. Okay, safety regulations, definitely also you need to follow the set by the safety regulators. So the exterior region is out of your control, but you can definitely control the internal constraint to make your process more profitable or sustainable. So the process design, basically, if we can conclude whatever we have learned, we first set the design specifications, what we want. So how do you design what we want? Based on what the customer need, because at the end the product is going to your customers. So based on that, we will generate the design concept. Then we will evaluate how much profit we can make, how much we need to invest, and what to select, which design to select, how to optimize. So all these things, whatever we just learned in the previous slides. Then once we are set what we want to do, we will design our all the equipments from our flow sheet. Okay, and these two also needs your customer approval. Okay, you need to know by what cost your customers are ready to buy the product. Okay, because you're going to evaluate the economics which is directly related to your equipments. Okay, your design concept again depends upon performance models, fitness of service. So for this we generally need some R&D, so you have an R&D department to perform this. Once you have detailed design of the equipment and selection, you go for procurement and construction, and then you begin the operation. Okay, okay, so this is what I explained the previous slide. So the overall explanation for this can be found in the subsequent lecture slide. Okay, so when we see generation of possible design concept, we again look into the three main approaches that we learned before: modifying the existing plan, new production, or totally new process. So why do we need to generate the possible design concept? Because we need to have a improved technology, not the outdated one. Okay, so maybe you have information from the known plant, you already know what are the various sequence of operation to be performed. Okay, but maybe it's a different location and different capacity. Now you want to build a similar plant for larger capacity or smaller capacity. You need to again design the possible concept. So further, you also can do this to improve your existing plant or retrofitting, right? So debottlenecking the plant, you want to increase the capacity of the plant, you want to increase the efficiency of the operations inside your plant, you want to decrease the cost of production. Okay, increase standard of safety, that is you lower the pollution. So there are various ways again you want to adopt the possible design concept. Okay, fitness testing is also very important. So how well each design concept meets the identified need. So always make sure you meet your objective. Always look at your objective, what do you want. Okay, so fitness testing is always, do you achieve what you want or not. Then economic evaluation, optimization, selection. Okay, so there are various other factors that we have to consider here. Okay, all those economic potential we need to do. We will learn them later because we have 6 different levels of economic potential. Apart from that, safety and environmental aspects also we have to look into. Economic evaluation. Basically, we also at the end need to identify your return of investment. Okay, Okay, then equipment design and selection, definitely different equipments and different components, different engineers are involved. So there are chemical engineers who work, there are also civil engineer who work for the site preparation, mechanical engineer also involved in design of the structures. For example, there's a huge long distillation column, you want to design the ladder or maybe the platforms. So other engineers also get involved in the design stage. Okay, at the end will be the procurement, construction and operation. Definitely we will not go into the detail of this point number 7. All right, so again let us take a break before we continue to the next part of the lecture.